All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm teacher Nathan from Practice at Work, and this afternoon, let's take a look at some questions from the O Level 2018 paper. Our focus today will be on the visual text as well as our narrative text. Okay, so first thing is we'll look through the text, draw some important pointers. After that, we'll analyze the questions. I'll share some tips and tricks to improve your answering skills before we look at the answer. Okay, we'll aim to do this for the the text one as well as our narrative text today. Okay, so looking at this web page here, so you can see every time there is this synopsis, I'll try to um, obtain some information and sense make what is happening. So they just say it's web page. So we need to ask ourselves, what's this web page about, right? So usually the website itself already gives some clue. This website is called comekayaking.com. So probably is some we are looking at some company that provides lessons for kayaking. Okay, then we can see the main point is here. Come kayaking with us on the River Avon. So this is like your main point. And we observe there are some secondary points that are inside the text. For first thing, they tell you what are their courses, 1 day course and a 5 day course. Then there's also some idea about what you need to know. So this is some extra info that can be considered your secondary point. And also here, I'll promise to you. So you can see there are like 3 subcategories inside this whole website. So this is point number 1. I call it secondary point, SP. Okay, so SP2, SP3. Now, let's take a look at this first point about the causes first. All right, so you can see over here, they tell you that all ages are welcome. This actually gives away a clue, which is when they ask you for target group, there is no specific age group that we are looking at because they welcome anyone of any age. Now, if we look further down, we observe that they offer a very supportive small group, maximum of half a dozen. That means maximum 6 people in a group. PPL means people. So you can see in the picture that there are four people and 1 instructor. So actually, this is what a supportive small group refers to. Now you can see, moving further, they talk about the difference between a 1 day and a 5 day course. A 1 day course only provides that kind of introduction, while a 5 day course shows you that you can be more adventurous and independent in your kayak. That's the difference. And we observe in the picture here, there's this girl who is, what's she doing? She's kayaking alone. So this point on being adventurous and independent is linked to the picture. Moving further, we observe under the tick what you need to know. You can see that over here, these 2 paragraphs, which I'm pointing at, yeah, here and here, I also ticked it, right? They are looking at things to bring. For your kayaking lesson. So you can see there are a bundle of words here which are not really useful. Whatever the weather, protecting your skin on water is sensible. So it's a must have. That means this is going to be compulsory. High factor sun cream. Okay, so uh, probably when you see so many words and how they're trying to hint to you that very likely we are going to look at something that is related to things to bring. Some question may ask you about it, right? Then you can see they talk about there's a cafe, so probably you don't need to bring your own food, but you can observe it's essential to keep hydrated, so make sure you have access to a bottle of water so you can drink regularly. That means this is something that you likely need to bring. Okay, so this is this part. Okay, we haven't looked at this part yet. I'll promise to you. Just like to draw certain observations here. The first one is here. The promise is they say is underpins everything else. So we need to ask ourselves, what does this mean? It basically means that it supports totally. So what they are trying to say is uh, this thing about being safe is the foundation of all their lessons. So that's their principal consideration when they conduct any activity. We also see the word here, above all, which is trying to emphasize that it's before any other consideration. So that means their principal consideration is to ensure a safe kayak expedition. Okay, so I'll say this poster, there are a lot of words. And these are the few noteworthy points that we should be aware of. Okay, so some of you in your school prelims may encounter those visual stimulus with very few words, right? Because I'm also looking at the curriculum in our centers, and yeah, it's quite common to have schools with this kind of visual stimulus without any words or very few words. So I'll say both have their own benefits and drawbacks. But I think the more important thing is when you look at this visual stimulus, you need to draw out what is your main as well as your secondary points. All right, which is these kind of things, because uh, the examiner or that person who writes that curriculum is interested in setting questions that test your understanding. So how do they split up the questions is by looking at all these main point and secondary points and asking ourselves, so what can we test students at each of these parts, right? If not, if I don't test you and I show you all this information, then it defeats the purpose of the exam. All right, so there's something that you should put in mind. What are your main and what is your main and what are your secondary points? The next one is how the examiner will test you on these points. So even before you look at the question, you should already have this mental preparation, and you should know what to focus on and where. All right. So let's go. Let's take a look at some of the questions now. I can see here already the first question is on target audience. The whole web page is aimed at, so target audience. Okay, we will look at question 1 and 2 together. So they say look at the two photographs and what feature of the course described does the course show, right? So you can see our courses here is one of the secondary points that we raised up earlier. And this feature is you basically need to describe picture plus link to feature. Okay, so don't be too happy when they just ask you what is this feature. Okay, there's that implied task there that you need to link your picture to the words. Okay, so moving back to our text, we observe the first one, who is the main web page aimed at? All right, so you can see come kayaking with us, and we also observe here all ages are welcome. That means there is no age restriction or a particular group of people that they are targeting. So in this case, we can just say that it is aimed at anyone who is interested in learning kayaking. You can see over here, want to try something new. So we're just looking at whoever wants to have this experience of kayaking. It's very straightforward. I will not dwell too much on it. Next, the second question asks you about the features of the course and how they are linked to the picture. So the first picture we observe four kids with the instructor. So you can describe the picture a bit. So the picture shows four children with their instructor, and it highlights over here a supportive small group, which this is the kayaking session will be carried out in. Yeah, you need to take note of this. And the other thing we observe is over here where we look at this individual girl who is kayaking. So we need to probably describe first that this picture shows an individual girl who is kayaking, and this suggests that she is being more adventurous and independent, which the 5-day course will enable her to experience. Okay, so come, let's write the answers that we have derived. So the web page is aimed at people who are interested in learning kayaking, learning how to kayak. Okay, so let's look at the next question about the feature. So firstly, you can say, okay, you can see it's linked to the 1-day course already. So you can say that the picture shows 4 students and learning from an instructor. Which links to the point that they are learning in a small supportive group. Of up to 6 people. Okay. I hope everyone can see clearly. Now you can see the 5-day course. The picture shows next one. The picture shows a girl kayaking alone, which links to the course making you more adventurous and independent. All right, and that's all. That will be our answer for question 1 and 2. Now, looking further, question 3 here asks, refer to the box header what you need to know. Give 2 items you need to bring when you go for the kayaking session. So you can see this is also a secondary point that we earlier identified. And I pointed out to you that despite having 2 paragraphs filled with words, there are only 2 important things. And you can see it's tested here, the 2 items that you need to bring. So the compulsory items are in other words. And let's take a look at question 4 together. It asks you, in this another section here, the secondary point which we pointed out, they ask about the phrase above all and how it links to the company's promise. right? So above all, as we have discussed earlier, is talking about before every other consideration. Okay, so with this in mind, let's go back to the text. So you can see under the what you need to know section here, uh, the company will provide all your basic issued items for kayaking, helmet, paddle, etc. Then the only thing you need to bring, you see, protect your skin is size factor sun cream. Next one, they talk about being hydrated regularly, so bottle of water. So these are the two elements that we need to bring, two items. Okay, let's take a look at the other part, the our promise to you, and how the phrase above all indicates about the promise. So you're trying to infer there, right? And you can see above all to be safe. So you can see that the value of safety is something that is number one priority here. So you can say that before any other consideration, the company prioritizes safety. Okay, so the element of the meaning of that word above all needs to be present and need to be very clear when and why they use it. Okay, so come, let's take a look at our answer. The first one, this kind of question is a dead giveaway, so just copy what the text tell you. If they say high factor sun cream, just write all four words. Next is a bottle of water. Okay, I'll promise to you above all. So you can say, before any other consideration, the company prioritizes safety of their students. All right, that's all. I'll just give you some time to take in the information here before we move on to our next question. If you have any questions regarding the text itself or anything else, do feel free to ask me. Hi teacher, school results. Okay, hello fish and chips. How was it? Are you referring to the N level results? All right. There are no further questions regarding this visual text. Then let's delve straight into our narrative text now. So the narrative text is talking about the boy's encounter with some whale. It's a bit like the story of Moby Dick, but all right. Come. Okay, give me a moment to sort out my notes before I share with everybody what to expect for this. Okay, come. So you observe this story about Joe and how he went to fish, but he encountered a whale. So I'm not going to do a reading session with you here, but I just want to point out certain important elements of this text so that it will enable us to better understand the text and answer our questions more effectively. So you can see the first part is on how Joe was about to start his fishing expedition, and it gives us the kind of idea about the environment, the weather that he was facing. Okay, so you can see the sky was a strip of old gray linen, which tells me the color dull, gloomy. So there is that possibility of rain. And you observe that Joe is taking the boat out alone for the first time. All right. And next, you can talk is we see how the thick waterproof coat afforded little protection from the icy grip of the elements. So the idea is that the weather was quite cold as well. That's why we look at how they describe the cold as being able to grip. Grip here talks about grasping something tightly. It's about how the child is holding the mother's hand very tightly because he is scared, right? So the idea is not about the scared, but it's this tightness of that holding. And we are looking at how the temperature was very low. Okay, so low temperature, and how this frigid air, that means the air which is very cold, enveloping everything. Okay. Now we move on further. You can talk about how, okay, wait, I just realized we talk about icy grip of the elements. So actually, before we even encounter the icy grip, we observe that the thick waterproof coat afforded little protection. So this actually gives you a clue that the jacket cannot keep Joe warm. So it kind of points to you that the weather must be very, very cold. Okay, and next, he looped his safety rope around and he started sailing. Then you can see that a strong wind filled them. Strong, steady wind filled them here. So over here, you can talk, the idea is how the wind is strong, which suggests high intensity. That means it was quite windy that day. You can maybe hear the wind howling. But the other element that we need to talk about is how the frequency was very high. So it's not that the strong wind just blew a while then stopped, but the fact that the strong wind blew constantly is something that's important as well. So you can see as a result, after the strong wind was blowing at Joe's boat, you can observe that he had been propelled far out further than he had ever sailed in the village. That means you can see almost beyond sight of land. That means his boat was being blown to somewhere near the middle of the ocean. Okay, and he managed to catch two buckets of herring, which is a kind of fish. Now you can see he as he tapped back against the wind. So tap here, so it basically means that he's trying to change the boat direction. Okay, so to recap, Joe wanted to sail out. The sky was dark, the wind was strong. He sailed out further than he had ever done so alone for the first time, and he managed to catch 2 buckets of fish. So now what is happening in paragraph 2 is he's trying to change the direction of the boat, probably to go back to base. Right? So when you want to change this direction, you are facing the wind and you intend to go through the wind. Now you can see, but there it was the rocky headland and whitewash village. So whitewash here basically talks about how the village is completely white. So you can see it was cold, so probably there was snow, and therefore the snow fell on the roofs of the house. That's why it's all white. But I think the important part to note is how, due to the prolonged time that he'll be out at sea, en route to the port, you see there was a couple hours of dust, so he let the roads run through his palms and feel the secret breeze of the breeze, enjoying the freedom of the vast expanse, yada yada. So we are looking at how he enjoys being alone. Okay, so you can see enveloping solitude. Envelope means that you're trying to surround something completely. And the word solitude here means being alone or isolated. So probably he's relishing this experience. Okay, so you can see as he was trying to enjoy, he just thought of his conversation with his father. That's why in paragraph 3 talk about how Papa Michael would say certain things, right? So you can see this word here, reckless, means that you don't think of the consequences. So probably you're looking at uh, how Joe behaved with his father. All right, you can see a black shadow sliding beneath water brought Joe abruptly back to the present. So you can see this is the build up of tension. What happened? This is the first thing that happened. And when they talk about how he was abruptly brought back to the present, there's this assumption that actually he was not focused on sailing. And what was he focused on? Remember in paragraph 3, we talked about his recollection. Yeah, he was focused on that, right? So you can see how they describe this whale and how the whale behave, right? Uh, he break above the swell like a submarine released from an underwater anchor. So you can see this kind of underwater anchor is like some kind of restriction. So we are looking at how the whale managed to like break free from some restriction and suddenly move up against the water. You can see corkscrewing as he did when it tried to lift itself up. That means it's trying to twist and curl, probably to gain momentum. So it's like, let's say the boat is here, this is your water surface, the whale is here, it's trying to twist and turn before it goes up to the water surface to breathe. Okay, so that's the mental image that you should have as you read this paragraph. Okay, so because of this momentum of the whale, you can see that there was an upsurge from the breaching whale. This upsurge is a large increase in waves. Therefore, you can see that Joe had to tighten hard on the wheel, so he had to sail properly in order to prevent the boat from going in the wrong direction. And interestingly, we observed that the whale had seemed to communicate with the author. We talk about how here the whale tried to return his gaze. That means the whale made visual contact with Joe. And in addition, we talk about how he had a farewell wave of his fin, which suggests that the whale would not see Joe again. All right, so with all this in mind, I just let you take in the information, especially the footnotes I written at the side before we move on. Okay, so since we are now clear of this text, let's move on to some of the questions. So you can see, question 5 here is asking about the three, is the classic question that tests you on the three details about the weather conditions. Okay, so the idea is the important thing is weather conditions. And when we talk about three details, we are looking at the kind of vocabulary that describes the kind of weather, all right? And how they are linked to the weather conditions. Also in paragraph 1, they ask you two ways the trip was different. So when we talk about something is different, it's probably because it's the first time Joe is doing something. Okay. Else, we are looking at how, in terms of certain performance criteria, he performed better or did something more than he did previously. Okay. So we are going to look at these two questions together because they are in the same paragraph. So in paragraph 1 here, okay, see, the first thing is the sky was a strip of gray linen. So you can see that the author is trying to compare old gray linen. So it's like comparing the dirty curtains of a house that is like filled with dust, that kind of dark color, right, to the sky. And the next thing we talk about is how there's an icy grip of the elements. So we are looking at how something is, how the low temperature and the kind of air enveloping everything else. And lastly, we see how there is a strong, steady wind. So different elements of the weather, the sky, the temperature, the wind. So those are our three elements that we'll elaborate on further. The next thing we observe for question 6 is two ways the trip was different. So as I've talked about earlier, we are either looking at something is being done for the first time, or something is being done more than other times. So you can see the first time is Joe took the boat out alone. That means that he's the only individual that did something. The next one, we observe that the boat propelled out further than anything else, right? So this is the part where is more. He sailed out from the village almost beyond the sight of land. It's the first time, the further he ever been sailed out. He sailed out too. Okay, so those two will be our answer for questions 5 and 6. So let's write them down first. So the three details, the first one is sky was a strip of old grey linen. We suggest the weather was gloomy with no sunlight. Secondly, icy grip of the elements suggests that the cold, frigid air envelope the surroundings totally. And lastly, we look at how there is a strong, steady wind that filled them. So we are looking at how the suggests a high intensity and frequency of wind that propelled wind that day. Okay. Okay, so we look at paragraph 1 earlier, and we observe that Joe took the boat out for the first time. So that was the first difference. So Joe went out alone on the boat for the first time. And the second thing we observe is he has sailed much further from the village than he had ever before. okay, than he ever had before. These two questions are pretty, I'll say the first one is, in terms of the language used, the vocabulary is not as challenging as school prelim papers, because I think they are more relatable to us. You can picture that kind of, in this case, is the kind of gray linen and how it's linked to the clouds quite easily. The envelope, that one, the grip, that one is also the verb is also not as difficult as what some of us will have encountered in school. This two ways question is a direct question. It's a giveaway. Okay. Now moving on to paragraph 2, you can see that Joe enjoys the freedom of the vast empire. So the first, sorry, freedom of the vast expanse. So the first thing is, what is this meaning, right? So when we talk about vast, something is very vast, it shows that it's a wide open area. And we talk about expanse, we are looking at uh, a very, very large area also. Okay, so the idea is, when we talk about vast expanse, is this limitless kind of area. And we talk about freedom here, is this ability to do whatever you want. So now the freedom is what we need to explain. Okay, and when you want to use your own words, we are just looking at how to rephrase the vocab and verbs. So in this case here, the vocab that we are looking at is vast expanse. So you're just looking at a very large area. And freedom, we observe, is the ability to do whatever he wants. So we need to contextualize a bit. So this freedom basically means that Joe is being alone in an extremely large area of water. And this ability to do whatever you like is captured here when you are alone. Okay, so that means that he, apart from being able to do whatever he wants, that's the implied, right? That kind of freedom from people is what we're also trying to hint and point at. That means that nobody is with him. Now let's move on further. Paragraph 3, we are told that the wind sometimes will roar and buffet as if it's charging at Joe. So you can see the word roar here is referring to that kind of animal cry. And all of us know that the wind can't replicate this sound, right? And buffet here means something is being struck repeatedly and violently. Okay, as if it was charging at Joe. So you can see, when you charge at something, you are also looking at some kind of aggressive animal that is trying to catch the prey. Okay, so actually, from that kind of student point of view, we all know that the writer is trying to compare the wind to an aggressive wild animal. And the next thing is, in what way is this comparison effective? Okay, so when we look at this kind of question, we need to, they say why, so we are trying to show the reason. How do we show the reason? Very simple. We need to link the similar characteristics of a wild animal and wind. So for example, when we talk about how a wild animal is aggressive, okay, so characteristic of wild animal is here, wind is here. So I'm going to list down certain things and how it's linked, right? So when we talk about the wind being in a very in that kind of manner, we are looking at how the wind is very fierce. This word fierce here conveys that kind of high intensity of the wind. For those of you who have gone to the mountains, you are looking at the wind that will howl, that kind of sound and that kind of strength of the wind. Okay. Then the next thing to take note is how when you charge at someone. So some of you may watch National Geographic and all those documentaries. We observe before the lion actually, bites the prey in the African savannah, the lion will start running first, and when they run, is to gain that kind of speed and momentum, such that when they charge, you can see that they will jump and with all the energy pounce on that prey. So when we talk about how the wind charges at the boat, we are looking at the same kind of momentum, that kind of speed, that kind of force that the wind possess. Okay, so we need to bring out this characteristic of momentum, force, force being forceful. Okay, so when they ask you why is it effective, it is effective because the characteristics are linked very well. That's the bottom line. And we go on further to elaborate on these characteristics. So we are looking at how it shows how, actually you can just say like a wild animal, like an aggressive wild animal, the wind is fierce and possess momentum when or you possess momentum, or you can say and is or is forceful. Okay, so we need to talk about these two aspects of the wind, because we are looking at different aspects of the description. If you're just looking at how the wind is fierce, how the wind is aggressive, then you're not even emphasize the fact that it is charging. Okay, so every vocabulary word that is stated in the text has a particular meaning. So the goal of a comprehension passage is for the students to understand and suggest the kind of meaning. So you're trying to link the writer's intent with your appreciation of the text. Okay, and I think this is the end of the first page. I'll just give you some time to take in the information here. If you have any questions regarding the text, do feel free to ask me. Okay, moving on. Okay, paragraph 9 here. In question 9 here, paragraph 4, the writer said at once he was alert. So the first thing they ask is why he was not alert. So you are expected to provide a reason. Then it goes on by asking you what caused this change. So we just need to list the factor which caused this change. Okay, so if we were to go back to the text once more, remember in paragraph 3 I talked about how he was trying to recall the times that he sailed with his father, and read here. And suddenly you can see a black shadow beneath the water in front caused the boat to shake, and therefore Joe was brought back to reality. Right? So you could say that the writer was reminiscing or recollecting the times. Joe was reminiscing or recalling the times he spent sailing with his father. And what caused this change? We're looking at how Joe saw a black shadow beneath the water in front of the boat. Of the boat. So in this case here, we can't actually say that it is the whale, because at that particular moment when Joe was brought back to reality, it was not because he saw the whale, because of the black shadow, and therefore he knew that something was amiss. So we need to highlight that the the cause is the shadow, not the whale. Okay. Okay, moving on to question 10 here. We observe that the writer quotes a particular part of the paragraph, and he wants you to match the words or phrase to particular descriptions. Okay, so you see, I'm very worried when this happens, because it can either be a word or a phrase, and uh, if you are not careful, you are careless, that's where marks can be lost. And you observe this is 3 marks. It's actually quite generous. Every quotation is just 1 mark already. Okay, and you can see the language used here is very sophisticated. So come, let's take a look. And okay, I'm going to read this part here. And all at once it surfaced, only meters away, breaking above the swell like a submarine released from an underwater anchor. With a great thrust of hidden power, it lifted almost clear of the rolling ocean, corkscrewing as it did so. So you can see, when they talk about unexpected strength, so there isn't that kind of vocabulary where strength is like related to like power or something like that. Now you can see everything is very flowery, is analogous, right? So you can see the unexpected strength that we are looking at here got to do with this, with a great trust of hidden power. So actually this is the answer. Because when something is hidden, something is not known, you will not anticipate. Strength and power, I would say they are rather synonymous with one another. So that will be our answer first, hidden power. Next, we observe when it turned its body. Okay, and as I've talked about earlier, this word of corkscrewing is actually an action of twisting or curling. Okay, if you go online and search what is a corkscrew, it's that kind of device that you use to open the wine bottle. And how it works is through twisting and turning that is able to detach the wooden cork from the glass bottle. Okay, and therefore we come up with this term corkscrewing, which means turning. Okay, but you can see its body, but in this text here there isn't any phrase before or after this word corkscrewing which highlights this aspect. Okay, so it'll just be one word, corkscrewing. Lastly, we talk about how it's being freed from restriction. So you can see that at the start it was a release like from an underwater anchor. So you can see this actually is an analogy to show how the whale was like underwater and how the anchor actually held it down. But once it was freed from it, it can move wherever it wants, even out of the water. All right. So be released from an underwater anchor. Yeah, that will be our answer. Now, looking at question 11, we are told that Joe's hand tightened hard on the wheel and his heart skipped a beat. So what was he afraid that would happen? So it's in paragraph 5. And question 12 also talks about paragraph 5, two phrases which suggest the whale was talking to him. Right? So you can see, first thing, let's go in depth into the vocabulary here. When his hand tightened, it shows that kind of nervous grip on something. So this what he was afraid will happen has to be linked to something that is bad, a situation which is unpleasant. That's why he is scared. All right. Now moving to question 12, when they talk about how the whale was communicating with him, right? So we are looking at these two phrases that are probably actions. And when we talk about communication, the thing we will take note is the info given. So what kind of action would lead to what kind of information transmitted? I think both aspects need to be captured inside your phrase. All right, so with these two these two pieces of information in mind, let's take a look at the text again. Paragraph 5 now. All right, so we talk about how tighten the hand on the wheel is here. And why does Joe need to tighten? You can see the upsurge from the breaching wheel lifted the boat and it balanced unsteadily at the peak of the wave. So we're looking at how the boat was at the top here and probably the waters were very choppy, right? Because of the momentum of the whale when it uh, emerged from the water. So you can see this question also tests you a bit on inference. So what if there is an upsurge? Why would Joe be afraid? Is it because the waves were choppy? Yes, but what would the choppy waves lead to? It will probably lead to his boat capsizing. Therefore, you need to draw this link from the sea state to the implication on Joe's boat. Now, let's take a look at the second question. We talk about how there are two ways the whale seem to be communicating with Joe. Okay, so as we have talked about it earlier, we observe that the whale seem to return his gaze. So we're looking at how the whale is trying to establish that kind of visual connection with Joe, trying to look at him. Right, the information probably trying to find out who are you. And the next thing we observe is how there was a farewell wave of the feet. So he's trying to tell Joe goodbye, trying to transmit this information to him through the wave of the tail. Okay, so these two are the answer. Now you can see, what if you just put return his gaze? This one will not be correct because this is not the intent of the whale. Right? The whale cannot talk. The whale probably can't communicate with humans, but the reason why Joe thinks that way is because of the word seeming. That means something is not being done in real life, but when people perceive things to be, it is a whole new world. It's a different thing altogether. All right. So come, let's answer our questions. So, what was he afraid? He was afraid the boat will capsize due to the upsurge from the breaching whale. So now what are the two phrases? The first one is seeming to return his gaze. And the next one is we talk about is the farewell wave of the fin. Alright, and that's all. Okay, Kurumi, what is this? This is secondary school. This is O-level 2018 paper. Okay, so as we talked about this morning, 10:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. is P5, P6. 12 p.m. is O-level. All right. So this arrangement will be for Wednesdays to Fridays for the month of December. Now, let's take a look at the last question now, the global question. So we are looking at how Joe's mood changes as his fishing trip progresses. Okay, so looking at these few words, okay, I'll write the answers down for you first, then I'll explain them. The first one, 10:30 to 12. Okay, paragraph 1 to 2, we're looking at contentment here. That means someone is very happy. Paragraph 3, we're talking about nostalgia. 4 to 5 is looking at fearfulness, while paragraph 6 talks about fascination. Now, why do we talk about contentment in paragraph 1 and 2? Okay, so if we observe here, we're looking at how there are two things. He was happy with the catch of the herring. That's the first contentment. The second contentment is he's enjoying the freedom of the vast expanse of water. So you can see actually this kind of this question itself is very lenient in the sense that it gives you multiple room for interpretation, and therefore I don't think students will usually make a mistake here. Okay, Kurumi, to repeat again, 10:30 to 12. Alright, so you can see from paragraph 3 we talk about nostalgia, right? And why is it so? It's because of this idea that he's recalling the times that he have had with his father and how they sailed together. So this one, no dispute. If you read the entirety of paragraph 3, it's just Joe recalling his time with his father. Now, for paragraph 4 to 5, we are looking at how you can see that the boat was very here swung a few degrees to the right. Then there was an upsurge in the waves and a hard skid a bit. So all these actually point to how Joe was scared of the boat being capsized by the whale. And this would be how we link it to the idea that he is fearful. Okay, because those two words, scared and fearful, they are synonymous. They are almost the same. And lastly, not forgetting, we are looking at paragraph 6 now, right? When they go back. Now you can see the any luck. Yes, I saw a whale right close. So this is actually the main thing. We are looking at how Joe was very intrigued, or he really enjoyed that kind of experience looking at the whale. Okay, so with that, we have come to the end of this text. Are there any questions? I'll leave my written work here. So if you have anything you would like to raise, do feel free to sound out. If not, I'll see everybody at 2:30. Bye bye.